As we step into the new year, it's the perfect time to reset not just our calendars, but the way we care for our gardens. Welcome to a fresh season of growing, experimenting, and reconnecting with practices that actually work. If you're new here, this channel is all about uncovering old proven methods that modern gardening quietly left behind. And if you've been here before, welcome back. Today's topic is one of those forgotten practices that feels almost too simple for how powerful it is. Long before chemical sprays, disease charts, and emergency treatments, growers relied on fermentation to keep plants healthy, resilient, and remarkably disease-free. How fermentation became a quiet shield against plant disease. Fermentation wasn't originally about feeding plants more nutrients. It was about controlling decay. Early farmers understood that rot and disease were not random events but biological imbalances. When organic matter broke down the wrong way, harmful organisms took over. When it fermented correctly, beneficial organisms dominated. This distinction mattered deeply. Fermentation allowed growers to guide microbial activity instead of fighting it after problems appeared. By fermenting plant materials, manures, and even kitchen scraps, growers created living liquids and amendments that favored beneficial bacteria and fungi. These organisms didn't attack disease directly. Instead, they crowded it out. They occupied leaf surfaces, root zones, and soil pores so completely that pathogens struggled to gain a foothold. Now, why did fermented inputs behave differently than compost or manure? Well, compost and manure rely on decomposition, which is slow and, honestly, often unpredictable. Fermentation, on the other hand, is controlled. So, it happens in low-oxygen environments where beneficial microbes convert sugars into organic acids, enzymes, and protective compounds. These byproducts lower pH slightly, stabilize nutrients, and create conditions that really many plant pathogens just cannot tolerate. When applied to soil or sprayed lightly on plants, fermented preparations didn't just feed crops, they actually altered the microbial landscape. Disease organisms that thrived in neutral, stagnant environments suddenly found themselves, competing with aggressive, fast-reproducing, beneficial microbes. The role of lactic acid bacteria in early plant protection is honestly quite fascinating. One of the most important microbial groups in old fermentation practices was lactic acid bacteria. These microbes were naturally present on plants, in soil, and even in the air. When encouraged through fermentation, they produced acids and antimicrobial compounds that suppressed harmful fungi and bacteria. Growers didn't know their names, but they certainly knew their effects. Plants treated with fermented solutions showed fewer leaf spots, reduced mold pressure, and stronger root systems. Soil stayed sweeter, not sour. Crops lasted longer in the field without collapsing from disease during wet or humid periods. Fermented plant extracts acted like immune primers for crops. Instead of reacting to disease, plants were supported before problems appeared. These extracts contained trace nutrients, organic acids, and signaling compounds that strengthened cell walls and improved nutrient uptake. Healthier plants leak fewer stress signals through their roots. That alone reduces disease pressure. Pathogens are attracted to stressed plants. By improving internal balance, fermented inputs reduced the invitation for disease to begin with. Why did modern gardening forget this practice? Fermentation doesn't fit neatly into modern product systems. It's variable, seasonal, and dependent on observation rather than instructions on a label. It also requires patience. You don't apply it once and walk away. You integrate it gently over time. As synthetic fungicides and fertilizers became widespread, fermentation was labeled outdated. Disease became something to spray away instead of prevent biologically. The result was short-term control and long-term dependence. As soon as sprays stopped, disease returned stronger than before because the underlying microbial balance had never been restored. The quiet advantage fermentation still holds today, is quite remarkable. What makes fermentation especially valuable now is that it works with biology instead of against it. It doesn't sterilize surfaces or kill indiscriminately. It builds microbial resilience. Once beneficial populations establish themselves, they continue working long after application. Gardeners who return to fermentation often notice that disease pressure drops gradually but permanently. Powdery mildew becomes less aggressive, root rots appear less frequently, leaf diseases spread slower and, recover faster. The garden doesn't become disease-free, but it becomes disease-resistant. Here's how this practice fits into modern gardens without complication. Fermentation doesn't require special equipment or advanced knowledge, just a bit of patience. It really just requires consistency and, a bit of restraint. Small amounts applied regularly will always outperform large applications used only occasionally. Fermented inputs work best when soil moisture is stable and organic matter is present. They integrate seamlessly into mulching, gentle feeding, and minimal disturbance systems. Now, this isn't about, replacing every modern tool out there. Really, it's about restoring a solid biological foundation so that, fewer tools are needed in the first place. So why does this matter as we look ahead? As we step into this new year, a lot of gardeners are searching for a bit of stability. Weather patterns, they're unpredictable, inputs can change, the rules, they keep shifting. But fermentation, it offers something quite rare. Control without force. It lets gardeners quietly, sustainably, and honestly quite effectively guide both soil and plant health. This practice, it survived for centuries. Not because it was fashionable, but because it worked under pressure. Rediscovering it now isn't just about nostalgia, it's really about practical resilience. If this sort of grounded, old-world gardening speaks to you, do consider subscribing to the channel so you won't miss what's coming up this year. And hey, share this with someone who's grown weary of chasing sprays and quick fixes. Here's to a new year filled with healthier soil, stronger plants, and wisdom that truly stands the test of time.